how would you describe work and play, and even like how your current life is set up?
I mean, work and play is definitely necessary for my age, but it's very hard for me to play. It's very hard because, again, I am 19, but at the same time, there's still work that I have to do, and because of the people that I'm interacting with and the rooms that I'm in, it's hard to just settle. It's hard to just relax. It's hard to just stay still because at the end of the day, you'll miss something.
So I know that you'll agree, enjoying myself while I work is the vibe that I'm trying to be on. So I want to invite you guys to Sidebar ATL here in Atlanta, Georgia. Sidebar, on top of the good food and live music, they have 3 different experiences. That means you can join me in the garden room, in the gold room if you want to try the top of the line hookah, and they also have the dungeon where I hear what happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon. So it's the perfect mix. If you're here on business or you want to blow off some steam after work, you can meet me at Sidebar ATL so that you can have a little bit of dinner and then turn up afterwards if that's your jam. So check us out, 79 Poplar Street here in downtown Atlanta, or you can call 678-800-0741. Let's get it, work and play at the same time, right? Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host and career transformation coach, Ariel Young, and today I'm bringing to you a different perspective. Now, usually we talk to folks who are leaving corporate America, who've been in corporate America, and they have a story to tell. But this perspective comes from someone who's seen it from the peripheral, from the sidelines. And now, due to your success, there's so much more we have to dig into, right? It's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and then there's so much more. So without further ado, you see the young man in the flesh. However, if you're listening, you need to tap in real quick. So would you mind introducing yourself?
Of course, I definitely do not mind. My name is Ashon Bennett, CEO of Ashon on all platforms. I am an options trader and mentor, and I teach young adults and teenagers how they can make $100 to $1,000 a day trading options in the stock market.
Dope. And I'm sure the number one question is, how old is this brother, if you don't mind?
I just turned 19.
19 years old, teaching stock options, and literally I've been able to see your journey for the last year or so. Yeah. Just growth, elevation. And it's, they say you can teach a young person anything, but you have been soaking up everything like a sponge, and like you said, mentoring folks on how to do it too.
Of course, anybody can.
Man. So this is the Work and Play Podcast. I think that it's cool that I have somebody young with me, because I'm kind of aspirational with the name Work and Play Podcast.
Yeah.
I had the vision of kicking it, having fun, making money at the same time, enjoying myself with no stop, with no beat.
Yeah.
How would you describe Work and Play, and even how your current life is set up?
I mean, work and play is definitely necessary for my age, but it's very hard for me to play. I don't know. It's very hard because, again, I am 19, but at the same time, there's still work that I have to do, and because of the people that I'm interacting with and the rooms that I'm in, it's hard to just settle. It's hard to just relax. It's hard to just stay still because at the end of the day, you'll miss something.
Are you still trying to get a leg up on your entrepreneurial career? Now, I told you about the morning meetup, the community that was created for the betterment of entrepreneurship. And we are cooking up some really cool things. Now, here's the thing. If you join today, you can actually get in for 60% of the original price. So if you join today, all you have to do is download the app, and I provided the link below so that you can join us. We have community, we have a book club, and it's the largest group that meets every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. to literally get a head start on entrepreneurship. So if you're still trying to grow, you don't know what your business is going to be, but you know you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the community for you. So check out the morning meetup, click the link below, download the app, and join us today.
And some of my friends, all of my friends now are financially or mentally more equipped and better off than I am currently because they've been doing it longer, and I can see their growth over time, but it took them longer. Yeah. So now it's all right, they took 3, 4, 5 years to get to 7 figures, and they're 18, 19, 20. Now it's all right, let me hurry up and get to that point too. Let me just lock in for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And at that point, after that, once I'm a millionaire, once I have everything that I want in terms of retire my parents or having enough money to cover my bills and bills and expenses times 5, times 10, then at that point I can chill and play.
I'm gonna tap your mic real quick.
Of course.
Okay, I think that might be good. I was thinking, there's 2 things that I heard.
Yeah.
One is being exposed to people who are thinking at a higher level than you.
Yes.
Right? So it's like you automatically get that energy and stimulation, and you're like, okay, I got to be on this level.
Yes.
Then I also hear three things, because I also hear, like, I don't have time for fun. Yeah, I'm 19, but the life that I'm choosing is grind. That's what I'm hearing, the equation of grind. And then the other part is like a little bit of FOMO.
Yes, a little bit. Fear of missing out, yeah.
Yeah. So of the three, which one is the one that wakes you up in the morning?
FOMO, for sure. Because, again, like, the friends that I have, like, all of my friends, like, you can go to my contact list. I have about, not 70, but, like, I know 70 entrepreneurs, and I'm probably tapped in with maybe 10 of them that are, like I'm talking to on a consistent basis, and they're all good in some way, shape, or form. And it's like, all right, now I have to be good, I have to be this, I have to do that, so I can make sure that, again, I'm still growing, but at the same time, I'm still building at the same time, because it all comes down to building. Because I have the short amount of time to build, and there's plenty of time to actually enjoy it. So now it's like, all right, let me put in the work now, so that way my kids and myself first will be good for the rest of my life. Yeah,
you're thinking long-term super early.
Yes.
And there's 100%, I love it, because, for you to have that why, everybody's why is given to them. And some people don't have that why of building a legacy at 19. So for you, when did that, I think life transformation, self-actualization, it happens for everybody at different times. When did your mindset shift to this more so intentional journey towards legacy?
So it started with one of my friends that I had in high school. We were really close. I've known her for about 3 years, and let's just say a situation happened between me and her, and I got caught up in a situation with her and her guy, basically. And basically it spun back on me, but at the end of the day, I didn't do anything because I asked for honesty, and integrity wasn't met. So long story short, I basically cut myself off from that person, and I just decided, like, all right, I've been focusing on everybody else except me. Like, I've been focused on pleasing everybody, making everybody happy, making sure I can keep friends just by making them happy, but sacrificing my own. So I said, all right, I'm focusing on me this season. So after that situation happened, this was probably October 2020. September, October 2020, and I was like, all right, I'm not talking to anybody else that's talking about playing games, going to parties. Like, I cut off like maybe 20 friends that I had, so I can lock in on just me. So every day I woke up, I said, all right, what do I want to be? I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. I want to make X amount of money a month, right? I was like, all right, cool. So how do I do that? So I started looking up how I can do that, and I found e-commerce, affiliate marketing, trading options, trading stocks, getting certain jobs at like Google or Amazon, stuff like that. There was different things that I could do. So I was like, all right, what could I do? Like, which do I have to choose? Because I can be a millionaire in all these avenues, but I have to pick one avenue. So that's where that kind of sparked my attention. Like, all right, I want to be an entrepreneur. That kind of sparked it.
So it sounds like not only was it entrepreneurship, but also a life event. Did you like, listen, I don't need this drama in my life.
Yes.
Life has to change. And that doesn't happen very much. Like, we bump our heads 3 and 4 times before we learn from a life situation.
Yes.
What was it in that situation where it's like, no, I need to choose myself? And also, what was the challenge of cutting off all these people?
So being a child, being a 18, 19-year-old, even a teenager in general, we thrive off of social. We thrive off of something. Even if we're not social, we're social in some type of aspect. So even nerds, for example, quote unquote, they're playing games with some of their other friends that are also nerds. They're playing games and stuff like that, because we stay like, oh, you're a nerd, you're isolated, and you're not talking to anybody, you're like lonely. You have something. Like, we need something, whether it's people, whether it's a reality or a life that we're exposed to, we need something to attach to. So it was definitely hard because, again, I thrived off of that, off of that friendship, but I realized I have to thrive off of myself and not other people. Because, again, other people might not always be here, but I will. So it's like, all right, I got to focus on me to make sure that I can bring myself happiness, I can ensure my success. If I didn't have anybody, if I didn't have no money, no nothing, how can I get to my goals? Because I think today it's my goals and not anybody else's.
Yeah. And so on the other side, that was the impetus for you to be able to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And this happened in 2020, right?
Yes.
So we also had your dad on the podcast, right?
Course.
And if we put the stories together, you guys are going to have to see Jose's episode, but At what point, so for the beginning of your life,
Yeah.
you weren't thinking about entrepreneurship?
Not really. Well, I kind of was a little bit. It was more or less like selling candy and selling food at school. And the only reason I did that, yeah, of course, yeah. That was in what was that? That was that was middle school, high school. Like I was a combination of all of that. And the only reason I did that was because my parents didn't let me have certain snacks and buy certain snacks for me. So I said, all right, how can I figure out how to get snacks but still afford it? Because I couldn't buy my own. So I was like, all right, money, snacks, I want both. So how do I do this together? And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take the little bit of money I have, go buy some stuff, and then resell it, make some more money, and then I can buy stuff that I like and stuff that I can sell, and then from that way I make money and I still get this what I want and what I desire. So if they're not gonna get it to me, I can get it for myself.
That's the beginning of most entrepreneurship, solving a problem.
Solving your problem.
And you started with solving your problem.
Yes.
So outside of your desire to get the money and the candy, as it relates to like your career, what type of seeds were being planted? If you can think back to that like younger part before 18, 2020 was 17 were you?
Yeah.
Like what were the seeds? Was it you gotta get a job and be successful? You gotta go to college? What were the thoughts? What was going on right now?
It was mainly just get a job, be safe, be stable. That's what mainly was, because most parents, like again, looking at it from a third person perspective, my parents, my grandparents, they don't care, they don't necessarily want me to make millions of dollars over me being safe, over me being secure, over them knowing that I'm okay. And it's crazy because most parents, they'll rather you settle for okay rather than excellent, just to make sure you're not risky over being safe. What? If that makes sense.
It does make sense. When did you come to that realization?
Just understanding, because in the period of me like focusing on myself, I understood my inner self, understanding why I operate the way I operate, how I move the way I move, and how I think the way I think. And that level of self-awareness kind of spread to other people, understanding like, all right, why are they thinking the way they think? Because everybody does things for a reason. So they're telling me, okay, get a job because it's secure and it's safe. So if it's safe, they can know that I'm okay. And if they know I'm okay, then they don't have to worry as much. So they're going to act, as parents, they're going to act off of emotions and not logic. Yeah. Because again, they care about me and stuff like that. They care about me more than I care about me sometimes. So because of that, their decisions and their actions and what they want is going to be the betterness of themselves and rather me. And no matter how you kind of put it like, oh, we care about my kid, but your perspective always trumps mine. No matter, in most situations. So like even when I made my first $2,000 off of trading options, I told my mom, she was like, oh yeah, that's good. But if I got
that job,
but if I got that job though, it's like, oh yeah, we gotta go to a party, we gotta go out to eat, celebrate. But and again, I can't blame because again, it worked. And it sometimes for some people it does work. But for me, I was like, okay, for what I particularly want, I was like, this is the way to go for me, based on what because again, I've seen them, and they made good money. They took care of me. They put me in private school. They've given me everything that I need, not necessarily want all the time, but it's like what I need. Like, okay, I need a roof on my head. I need clothes. I need this. They got me what I needed. So I'm grateful for that. But again, things change. Like life changes. Again, like we're not hunting dinosaurs anymore. We're not doing any, like everything grows and evolves over time. So means of making money, means of building, means of creation, like all that stuff changes over time, including like when it comes to like what do you want to do. So sometimes it doesn't have to be, all right, this is exactly what I have to do. I have to listen to my parents. They might be right, but are they right for me? And that's where you kind of have to draw the line. I
want to tap into that independent mind of yours. But before we do that, there was the young Ashon, right, who grew up watching mom and dad go to work, and most of the things that you were cared for came from like them working. What was it like, what was it like watching your parents kind of just go to work on a regular basis?
So it was my mom, at the time it was my mom and stepdad, right? So my mom was kind of like working Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday she was usually off and we would go to church and stuff like that. But my dad would work the whole week basically, so he would always be out and stuff like that. It was good because I had a good mixture of both. I had a good mixture of, like for my stepdad, like work hard, be realistic, that work ethic, that what's the word, that down to earth type of person. And then my mom was more spiritual, more emotional, more catering to like, all right, you need to go to church, you need to do this, we need to do this together and stuff like that. So I had a good mixture of both. And then from my dad's perspective of never give up on yourself, and also because he would also do it, but he would do it for other people. And for my stepdad would do it for other people too, including me and my mom. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it kind of came down to, it was a mixture of like, be defiant, do what you need to do what needs to be done, and also do what you have to do in terms of like your spirituality and stuff like that. So I had a good mixture of all three. Mm-hmm. And that kind of built me up into the person I am today. But seeing it from them go to work, sometimes it sucked because it's like they're always like gone and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they also provided stuff that I did need. So it was like, pros and cons to it.
Yeah, pros and cons, and it sounds like you got a really good mixture of values.
Yes.
A lot of times when I'm working with my clients, and even myself, like I got to 25 and was like, okay, so what are my values?
Yeah.
Right. And so it sounds like you had this very strong foundation of spiritual, work ethic, and even like helping, like all of these different buckets of values, which of course values are all in there, and that's amazing. And to watch all of your parents keep a stable job and have that strong work ethic, it really does make for a really cool foundation, right? Yeah. So what was the first seed of like entrepreneurship in its like formal, term? Yeah. When was that first seed planted in you?
I have to say that first seed was planted by my dad. He quit his job. He was working at Verizon. He quit his job and he was self-employed. He became a photographer, videographer. Mm-hmm. And he does like the videos for E.T. and Eric Thomas, stuff like that. So he started with that, and then he started transitioning it into branding, into coaching on creating your courses and stuff like that. So he's transitioned into that, but he was very like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to master this. And he did. And now he's where he is right now. Yes.
What was it like though, looking from the outside looking in? And I'm asking this question from a selfish place because I have a little. She's now 13. Yeah. And when I quit my job, before I quit my job, it was hanging out every weekend, taking her all here. Like I didn't have to ask for any type of money. It was just, we could just do the doggone thing. And I felt like I didn't set expectations with her when I left my job, because then it was just, we can't go here, let's do some free stuff, we can still hang out. But then it's like, sis, you used to take me to the movies and we used to get extra popcorn and candy. Yeah. So from your perspective as a child, what was it like to see, and I'm assuming that's only 1/3 of like your parent structure, right? So maybe you didn't throw out as much, but what did you see from one of your parents deciding to quit their job? What was your thoughts?
My thoughts on that kind of were, I mean, they're doing the best they can. They're doing what they feel is necessary. And at the end of the day, I had no say, because again, I'm not paying bills. Like, hey, you pay me your bills, you take care of this. I got you. I'm gonna let you rock out. So my perspective of it kind of back then was like, oh, I wish this was this way, or I wish this was this way. But at the end of the day, it kind of came down to just letting them be them, because again, they are adults and there's certain things that they knew that I didn't. So it's like, I can't necessarily impress my desires upon them, because at the end of the day, they're doing it for a reason. Absolutely. Because so my mom, like for example, my mom, in example, she drives crazy, like ridiculous on the road. But at the end of the day, I have to realize she's my mom. So even though she's driving crazy, even though she's driving reckless and stuff like that, she's still gonna make sure I'm okay at the end of the day, even if she is driving crazy, which is still backwards. Most people think it's backwards, but they still have your best interest at heart. Even if they have flaws, even if they make mistakes, they still have your best interest at heart. So I kind of just let it be.
Yeah, I feel this this positivity lens. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was kind of like, venting about what she was experiencing. And immediately I'm thinking about, okay, so what's the better way to think about this? What's the perspective shift? And she was like, I mean, I'm just living here in my sadness for a moment. I'm thinking about your realization of like, yeah, my mom's driving crazy. Yep, my dad just quit his job. But there is a brighter side. Yes. Right? And I'm curious, in your processing, what was your experience? How did your experience shift though? Yeah. Regardless of like the positive side of it or the negative side of it, like what were the things that you noticed were different?
Yeah. So the amount of time we spent together, the amount of things I would get. So the things would increase, time decrease.
Things would increase,
and time decrease. Yes. As a result, so I wouldn't have spent as much time with them. There were certain times I couldn't. We had more time to do things individually in terms of like, all right, we can go here for a specific day, and then it would go back to, all right, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to work. So it was like, instead of more like, all right, we have Saturday and Sunday blocked off, so we're going to do this. It was more of a, all right, we have sections of the year where we can go and do stuff. So that's the one thing that changed, but the time was the time remained the same. It just got, the schedule changed. Like in terms of like the consistency and the order that it showed up.
I got you. I'm kind of paranoid about the mic. I kind of want to bring it on the outside.
Yeah.
Those of you guys who are listening, if it wasn't a bad thing, then I'm sorry for interrupting the show. But I just wanted to make sure y'all get really crispy sound.
Yeah.
Because as I'm listening to your story, there's something different about you. Anybody ever tell you that?
A couple times, yeah.
A couple times.
Couple times.
There's something different about you, and it's not just age. And it's not just, it's literally the way your mind works. It's like a soul thing. You know what I mean? Like there's something that you receive information, you receive life a certain way, and then you output it. So because you've been on this like such a growth trajectory from learning to experiencing life and now revenue, because those of you guys who got to tap in, we're going to get into trading in a minute. Where have you noticed, either in yourself or where have you gotten feedback about the things that you actually want to develop and grow in?
So where did I get the desire for it, or where did I get the...
Where do you see yourself growing? Where do you see your growth areas?
I'd have to say maturity, because again, like, even though it seems like, oh yeah, he's super mature, like it seems that way, but again, you still gotta realize, like, again, I just turned 19, like I'm still like young, like I still, like, I'm a child. I literally just got my first place, and most people my age will still be in college partying and stuff like that and having fun. So I'm a counterpart of that, but at the same time I'm immature, but I see things differently. That's all it is. So my maturity, I've gotten a little bit more selfish ever since I became an entrepreneur, because you kind of have to a certain extent, but you still have to remember, like, all right, you still have to care about people, because my social awareness when I was in high school was way different than here, because now as a trader I don't really have to like cater to certain people. It's just like, hey, I got me, and that's it. But before, in high school, I was very socially aware. I was very cognizant of other people and making sure I didn't hurt their feelings, making sure I catered to how they were, and I kind of didn't carry that over to entrepreneurship, so I kind of need to work on that balance too.
That's a real self-aware, even to be aware of your immaturity, like of not just immaturity in the sense that you're childish, but you still are growing. And it's like, even if you have this old soul, you still have to, the knowledge still has to catch up. Like, for example, you're going through your own transition now. We talked about this before. Actually, no, you just mentioned it, because you're getting your own place.
Yes.
And I want to know about, like, you've gotten to a place in trading where you can actually make revenue on a consistent basis to do that.
Yes.
So let's talk about your trading journey. Let's do that. What was the first seed that was planted about trading for you?
YouTube.
Really? YouTube University?
Yep, YouTube. I was just looking it up and I didn't know what the heck it is. I was like, options. I'm like, do I have an option to do this or that? But apparently it's a form of basically buying shares of a company in the stock market. It's basically a way to do that. So that was the first place that I got that information. YouTube.
What made you Google it or you search it?
I just searched up entrepreneurial things, like things to make money, basically, like how to make money. And that was one thing I kept hearing over and over again. So I just looked into it more. So somebody said options. I was like, all right, what is options? I looked it up, options trading, and then saw videos on it, just started looking at videos and understanding it. And at that point, I kind of just went into a rabbit hole and learning about it.
Yo, that is crazy. Just because I'm imagining you're obviously just living your life.
Yeah.
And then people are saying things around you. I'm imagining a kid could be eavesdropping on some mess, but they can also be listening in and receiving information about options and real estate. And here you are like, options, what's that? And you take to YouTube. So first you thought it was, options and like just things to do. And then you finally learned what it was. When did you get sucked in and say, oh, hey, this is something I could do?
I think it was when I got sucked in, I started in December 2020, January 2021, like around that time.
Okay.
And that was, I turned $500 to $2,000 from Christmas money that I just had. And then at that point I was like, all right, this is something I can definitely do. So I started studying it a little bit more, and I started getting into it and making money with it, but it wasn't, there were certain things that, because the thing about trading, like the charts and the stocks and all that stuff, that's the easiest part. The hardest part is mastering yourself, like mastering your mindset too, because again, like I'll say it like this, you can have a great a really reliable car, but if you don't have a reliable driver, you're going to crash. So it doesn't matter how great your vehicle is of getting you safely to A and to Z. It depends on if you put a 12-year-old in the driver's seat or a 28-year-old that's had experience driving for like at least 8-10 years. So it kind of just, you got to look at it like that.
Facts. Okay, so you built the system. You got $2,000 off of your $500 Christmas.
Yes.
I'm so like, I haven't had a cool Christmas. It's so long, but $500, thank you. Most people would have just thrown it off on like PlayStation or something, but you decided to put it in the market. You got $2,000, so you're saying your system, your vehicle was together.
Yes.
Where were you in terms of self-development?
In self-development, that forced me to develop, because I made money with it, but I wasn't developed at all. I was still Ashon. So
did you lose a lot?
Not really. I was losing a little bit. So after I made the first amount, I got to about 4,000 or 5,000, and then I had a big loss of $1,000 in like a day. After 4,000, dropping it from 5 to 4, and I was like, whoa, that was a lot. That was 20% of my account. I didn't like that. So, and again, I was 18 at the time, so I was the most amount of money I ever had. So I was like, all right, let me study these losses. Let me study how I can be good at this and how I can be proficient so that I don't lose. So I study losses. Like I took little losses, but I studied them heavy, like, because I really wanted to understand it and break it apart so that way I could be fine when I actually got started and I actually decided I was going to be good at trading.
Yeah, and I'm not a research person, I promise you, but when you say you studied losses, what were your processes like? You were like, okay, so somebody lost $1,500 there, but then somebody lost $5 million there, and why did they lose it? Is that the process that you went through? Basically,
I just asked simple questions of, all right, did they lose? Yes or no? Yes. All right, why did they lose? Well, not even why did they lose. It might be, how much did they lose? Let's say they lost 1,000. All right, how much was their account worth? 10,000. All right, so they lost 10% on that trade. They lost 10% of their account off of this one trade. All right, what type of trade did they have? Was it like a smaller time frame day trade, like in a couple minutes, couple hours, or was it a couple days, couple weeks, couple months? All right, let's just say it took like a few hours. All right, cool. It took a few hours. All right, it took a few hours for them to lose the trade. What did they do from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., something like that, right? So now I know, all right, for 3 hours, I can look at a chart and say, all right, they did this from here to here. This is what they did. All right, here's where they went wrong. They went wrong here and here. So now if thing A and thing B happen, I make sure not to do thing A and thing B. I make sure to do thing C next time, basically. So I just ask those simple questions overlapping one another. So question 1, question 2, question 3 to get a chain until I get the answer.
I love that. You just gave us a decision tree on how to research investing. Where did you get the answers?
From asking the simple questions, because again, if I ask complicated questions, it's going to take a little bit harder. To myself. I just, to YouTube and myself. So I asked myself these questions first, and then if I didn't have the answer, I would go to YouTube for it. And I would just type in that specific question. All right, so for example, why do people lose on day trading, which is trading in a day? So if you're trading options, trading stocks, it's called day trading because you're day trading. So I'll look up, why do people lose in day trading? Why do people blow their account, or like blow their entire account, like lose all the money in their account from day trading? I'll look up those videos and I'll start studying. All right, cool, they lose because of this, this, and this. I'll take notes on it. All right, so he could have lost because of this, 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 and this, but he probably lost because of this specific thing based on how it relates to each other. So let's just say he lost because he was betting on a stock going down and it went up. All right, based on this thing says most traders try to bet on stocks going down when they should be betting up based on X. So now I know, all right, cool, correlating that together, that's probably why he lost. And I just kind of connect those pieces together.
Dang, this is good. What about the emotional side of it? So
Yes.
you broke down the vehicle, and then you talked about, the person, the driver.
Yes.
What about, so that first 1,000?
Yes.
How long did it take for you to bounce back?
Probably a few weeks. A few weeks to actually bounce back from that.
Yeah.
Because again, it was a huge loss, but I decided to make small incremental growth. But trading forced me to be a better person. It forced me to be, because you have to be, like I said, emotions is the biggest problem when it comes to traders. Because again, humans are emotional people, so we typically are. We do everything with emotion, like relationships, how we eat. It makes us feel a certain way. Money, we attach ourselves to money. But if we attach ourselves to money when it comes to trading, we'll lose. So if your goal is to trade and your mindset is shifted towards, I'm going to do this to make money, you will not make any, because you're attached to the dollar amount instead of attached to the skill set. So if you're attached to the skill set, you're not going to perform well. You're going to perform well enough, quote unquote, to actually be proficient, but that's not how you do it. Like, because you can go into, for example, like a certain job or something like that, and you can do what you need to do. Like, they give you the criteria, you do what you need to do. Not above all, you're not personally developing yourself to actually get that job. You're just doing it for what? The money. So now if you do that with trading, you will blow your account, which is why most people fail their first year. Like 77% of traders fail their first year, not because of the strategy, not because of the charts, not because it's too complicated. It's because they're attaching themselves to the money. So now, because they're attaching themselves to the money, they're only doing it for the money, not doing it to actually get better, and they're not going to actually grow.
Yeah. Have you read the 4 Agreements?
The 4 Agreements, I have not. I need I add that to my list.
Yeah, you should. The reason I ask you is because you had the first $1,000 hit.
Yes.
And you said it took you a couple weeks to bounce back. I'm thinking you meant monetarily and personally?
Yes.
Or did you mean monetarily? Both. Okay. So, like, because it took you a while to kind of get back into the...
Yes.
One of the 4 the basis of the agreements is we make agreements with ourselves.
Yes.
And at the time, your agreement could be, I'm going to be a stock trader so that I can get more money. And what you're saying is, you have to go in with the idea of investing in the skill.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what was the new agreement that you made with yourself when you decided, I'm going to get back in the game?
When I said I'm going to get back in the game, I said I'm going to commit myself to the skill, not the money. So when I said I committed myself to options, like every day, for at least an hour or two, I'm studying something on options. I'm learning something new on options. Because again, the more time I invest in that skill set, the faster I learn it, the faster I master it, the more in my mind it is. Because now I can give an analogy to pretty much anything in life connected to options. It's crazy. I don't know. It's weird. Like, if you give me any topic, just give me a topic, give me a problem that some people have in life, and I'll try to connect it to options so people can understand.
Trying to get somebody to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. Okay,
so trying to get somebody to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. All right. People know that they need to go to sleep at 9 o'clock so they can get enough rest so they can actually prepare themselves for the next day. You got to make sure that you actually are getting ready for the market. You have to make sure you're preparing for the market, because again, you don't want to do it. I don't want to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. It's too late. Or I don't want to stick to the strategy. It's not working, or I can't do it. But you got to focus on the strategy. You got to focus on making sure that you actually understand, I'm not going to sleep at 9 o'clock. I'm not trading just to go to sleep. I'm trading to make sure that I get a different result the next day. I'm trying to make sure I understand and learn this now about options, so that way I can learn and master how to make money in the long run.
Come on, Bennet. What I hear is discipline.
Yes.
Discipline. It all goes back to discipline and commitment and consistency.
Yes.
There is so much to be said about this. And I actually have someone in my program right now who's developing their high value skill set to quit their job and go into trading.
Yeah.
You broke down the daily research.
Yes.
And then the trades. I'm wondering, what are the daily revenue generating activities that a person needs to do to make sure, for example, their rent is paid every month, right? Yeah.
So it depends on their rent. So, like, give me an example. So what is their rent? What do they have to spend a month typically?
So, okay, let's say the person's rent is $1,500. Well, let's say their lifestyle, because we're talking about folks who live in corporate.
Yes.
So that means their lifestyle is rent car, insurance, those
Kids,
type of things.
most likely.
Right, kids. So let's say we're looking at between $5,000 and $6,000 that you need to make every month to take care of your life.
Yeah.
What are the daily activities that a person needs to do as a trader to make sure that they can be consistent when they leave?
The same amount of time that you spend on your job is the same amount of time you need to spend trading. So on trading, not actually trading, but like learning how to trade. So if you spend, I don't know, let's just say you spend 8 hours a day at your job, like from 9 to 5, cool, you're at your job. From, let's just say it takes 3 hours for you to actually get yourself together. So that means from 8 to 12 or 7 to 12, you need to be learning about options. You need to be studying options, because again, the same way you go into that job and you learn different things that you need to do to get better in that business so you can actually promote yourself, you need to actually learn different things about the stock market so you promote yourself to making more money. So the daily routine would just be, it depends. So waking up on time, so waking up before the market actually opens. When the market actually opens, you're prepared, you watched over what stocks you want to trade, what stocks you want to look at. And then once you have the information, now you're like, all right, you have a strategy already. I assume you most like, if you don't have a strategy, don't trade. So if you have a strategy or a plan now, like, all right, I'm going to get to the market. Now, my goal is to do this. If this doesn't happen, cool. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to waste any money. But if this does happen, boom, I'm just going to execute on that. I'm going to make some money with this. And then from there, if you're trying to make $5,000 to $6,000 a month, I'd recommend somebody having maybe, if you were trying to make $5,000 to $6,000 a month as a beginner.
Yeah.
As a beginner.
And however long it takes for somebody to grow up to that.
Yeah. If you're trying to grow up to that point where you can actually make $5,000 to $6,000 off of just having a certain amount, then I'd recommend having maybe, well, conservatively, I just say 10,000. If you're a beginner, 10,000.
10,000 in your trading account that you can make a consistent 5,000 off of.
Yeah, because if you can make, so a conservative number that you can make every day would be, let's just say 5%. So 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. 5% is 500. So if you can make 5% of your account, because again, it's not 5 and 10% is very small. There's people that's doing like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100% of their account daily or even weekly. So 5 to 10% is just like small compared to your account. So $500 or $1,000. If you make $500 a day, so for that week, let's just say for that week you win, let's just say you win 4 out of 5 times, so 80% win rate. So day 1 through 4, Monday through Thursday, you make $500 4 times. So that'll approximately be $2,000 to $3,000, because again, you're making $500. Now your whole account is added to that. Now you you just multiply that 0.05, and that's pretty much how much you'll make. So let's just say roughly you make $2,000, and then you lose a day. Let's just say you lose a day, and so you're willing to make 500, but you're only willing to risk, let's just say 200. So let's say you lose $200 on Friday. Cool. You make $500 times 4, Monday through Thursday. That's $2,000 minus 200. That's $1,800 right there. Cool. $1,800. Now your account now is at 11,800, which is basically $1,200. Let's say 12,000. So if you're at 12,000 now what's 5%? What's 10% of that is $1,200, so 5% of that is $600. So now you're making $600 a day. Let's say 80% win rate again. 600 times 4 is $2,400. So first week you made $1,800. This week you made $2,400. You lost, let's just say, $200 again. So now you're at $2,200. So now $2,200 plus $1,800 is $4,000. So the next week after that, literally just do the same exact thing. Even if you lose 2 days in a row, let's just say, because if you're at that point, you're at 14,000 or something like that. So 14,000, you'd be making $700 a day. So let's just say you won 3 days out of that week, not even 4, 3 days. So 3 days, 700 times 3 is $2,100, and you lost, let's just say $200 each time for Thursday and Friday. Let's just say you had a bad 2 days. That's $400 minus $2,100. I'll just do the math for y'all. That's about $1,700.
Yes.
So $1,700, and then $2,200, and then $18,000. Right now, I'm not doing the math on that, but that's about $5,000 right there. That's all for 3 weeks, not even 4 weeks of
trading.
Yeah.
Now, this sounds like, and by the way, bravo, the way your mind works. Now, based on like this scenario, how long does it take somebody to go from beginner to sufficient, not sufficient, but I guess efficient, that's the word I was going to say.
Yeah.
Efficient like that. So going from beginner to like an efficient $1,000 to $2,000 a week. The best way to support the Work and Play podcast is by subscribing to the YouTube channel and by going to your favorite podcast player to subscribe and rate the Work and Play podcast. That's all you have to do. So if you are liking the Work and Play podcast, the content, the stories that we're sharing, and you know that this will help someone, go ahead and share the content to someone who could actually use it and help them on their journey to transition from corporate into entrepreneurship. Now let's get back into the episode.
Well, it depends on their starting amount. It depends on who's their mentor is. So if you have me as a mentor, easy. But if you have me as a mentor, I'll get you right because I can break down what you need to work on in terms of inner. Because again, most of the time, it's not even about the strategy. It's about the person. So if I can work with the person, then they're good. So having the right emotions when it comes to trading, having the right strategy, having the right mentor, and then I have to say having the right amount, because again, it's easy. So if I have $100 and I make 10% of that, that's $10. But if I have $1,000 and I make 10% of that, that's $100. If I have $100,000 and I make 10%, that's $10,000. So all these, it matters about how much you have in your account. So the numbers that you have in your account. So if you have a good amount in your account, it's easier for you to make money.
Yeah. So the system is a system. You work with your mentees on that emotional control, emotional intelligence. You work with them on like the consistency and discipline, it sounds like.
Yes.
And also like getting them to their goals, right?
Yes.
What is it like as a 19-year-old as a mentor? Like, being a mentor at your age looks different for some other 19s, right? You're helping other kids doing other things. But what is it like coming into this mentor seat?
It's been challenging. Like, it's a little bit hard. Actually, it's funny because I made a rap about it because I made a song and I was talking kind of about like what I'm dealing with. And one of the things I said was being a mentor is a commitment like marriage I wasn't ready for. I thought that it'd be a steady flow. I wasn't ready for people to need me. I just wanted to be like Batman, mask on, can't see me. So I just wanted to help people out and save people from themselves, but I didn't want to be like in the forefront of everything. I just wanted to have a mask on, just help people from behind the scenes, and then just do my own thing. Because that's why I like trading now, because I can just stay to myself, make money. I don't need to market. I don't need to do nothing. I can just make a couple thousand, go to sleep, and then just literally I can just do that on repeat. So that's kind of it's challenging because you want to be there to help people, but you also don't want to be. You also know that you still got to learn too. Because again, I'm 19. I've only been doing this for a year. So I'm helping people that are beginners because I've been down that road. Like it was literally like in the back of my mind because I just happened. So I cater more to beginners because it's way easier for me to teach them. Like it's way easier for me to make analogies that cater to them since I am in that beginning stage. So it's good and it's easy for me to teach beginners, but at the same time, it's still hard because you're teaching and growing. So if you're teaching let's say you're teaching chapter 1, but you're trying to get to chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, you're literally reading chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, but you're still teaching them chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And that's just weird. Now you're all over the place with your book, and now you don't even understand what it is.
But you're a practitioner and you're a mentor at the same time, which is responsibility, is what I'm hearing. Overall,
a lot.
It's responsibility. And your rap just hit me. So, so just to know, like being in the seat, it's like I just told myself this today, and I went on the story and said, "To whom much is given, much is required." Yes. And you wonder, like, okay, all right, God, like, is this what I need to do? But you 100% are showing up in the way that you need to, and sharing what you know to the people who can receive it. Yeah. A correlation to like the corporate world is like being a young manager. Let's say you're 19-year-old. Technically you'd be like 22 in corporate America, right? Yeah. And your boss is like, or your boss, not your boss, but someone on your team is like 50. Yes. And they've been doing the job for however long they've been doing it, but you come in as the young, fresh manager who's now leading the team. Yes. Have you encountered people who are older, who want to learn from you, and then what are the challenges or like some of the victories that you've experienced?
I've had plenty of like older people come up and ask me for like advice, like, and they want to learn how to trade too. And there's certain people I will teach, because again, I create my stuff for anybody, so anybody can literally learn it. But in terms of like me personally mentoring them, sometimes it's very hard to do it because I look at it like this. So a child, they've only been around this earth for like not that long, so I can shape their mind. I can still teach them stuff, and they'll be more open-minded to learning, especially since they're in college, high school. They're more impressionable. But adults, it's a little bit harder because, again, what they've been doing for years, like longer than I've been alive, now I gotta break that down and then teach them. Like, it's a little, I gotta reteach and stuff like that, so it's a little bit harder. It's not harder, but it's more stressful because it's like,
right. You gotta there's a phase before you even get to the actual learning part, whereas you can start from scratch and you don't have to do so much tilling of the soil in order to plant seeds. And
usually people are like, certain people can let their ego and their pride go, and they're just like, I'm willing to learn because I know that what I've been doing hasn't working. So some people are like that, but for the most part, for me, most adults that I've met, it's very hard to break certain beliefs and certain characteristics that they have because it's been impressed upon them so long, like what they've learned. So it's very hard because you got to break it now. Now you got to break something that's been happening for years. Again, if you've been doing something, I don't care if it's right or wrong, for 20 years, you're going to think it's right. Like, no matter how right or wrong it is, consistency determines validity.
Yeah, consistent. I love it. I was thinking about something, and I oftentimes, my mind goes in so many different ways. So if it comes back to me, I'm gonna bring it back. But while we take on the responsibility of mentorship, we also have to kind of stay in that mentee seat to continue to learn. Where do you find inspiration in trading?
Inspiration from trading mainly comes from, so most people that I've seen now, like the mentors that I have, they're doing like 100K days. Sometimes they might do $1 million in a day trading options or trading stocks. And for me, seeing that, it's like, wow, they're doing great. But when I look at how much they have in their account, how much they're making, I'm like, hold up, they're not even like, they might have $1 million in their account, they made 100K, and it's like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. But in reality, it's only 10%. So the same way somebody else that has $10,000 and they make 1,000, it's the same thing. You just add a zero. So once I look at it from that perspective, it's like, all right, the one thing that they don't have, what they do have that I haven't fully truly mastered yet, is just leaving all my emotions at the door and not like taking your emotions behind me, because they've been doing it for so long and they're not attached to the money. They already got money, so they don't have fear or emotions. They're good, right?
It's a game at this point.
It's a game for them. So it's literally like, because again, if you play a game for so long, you get better at it. But again, there's certain roadblocks that you have to overcome, and that only comes with time. That comes from learning too, and learn from other people's mistakes, but not everybody does. So sometimes you got to bump your head a little bit to actually like understand, like, all right, this is what I got to do. But some of my mentors now, that's usually where I get the inspiration from, usually.
Yeah, that's the trading side. But since we keep kind of teetering the line between like the vehicle and the driver, the type of man that you envision, like how much does that play a part in the things that you do on a regular basis?
It teaches me that I have to learn how to, that's a good question. It forced me to be disciplined, it forced me to be consistent. It teaches me to be humble. It teaches me not to be greedy, arrogant, cocky, or have fear in certain situations, because I don't need it. Like, because fears are just emotions that protect us. And at the same time, it's just like for example, my parents, they're doing things to protect me. No matter if it's right or wrong, it's just what they think is right. So my emotions don't always have to be prominent, and I'm starting to learn that a little bit more, to be self-aware, obviously, but less self-reliant. I guess that's what I've mainly learned from trading. So like, you can't be relying on what you think, you have to be relying on what people are giving you, or what you can see from other people.
Is that in regards to like developing relationships with the new individuals?
That and developing a relationship, but also understanding relationships, understanding people. Like, if you can, so for example, if I understand somebody, like that's how I made most of my friends now. I'm able to understand where they are mentally, to understand, all right, can this person be my friend or not? Because if they're mentally where they need to be, I can tell. But I have to know the characteristics of that person. So if I want to make money in the market, all right, I have to understand the characteristics of a stock. I have to understand the characteristics of this company, or what makes it go up, what makes it go down. If a recession is coming, I have to understand the characteristics. So once I understand the characteristics, I already know what type of person you are. Even if there are certain things that I might not understand, majority of what you show will be in the little things that you don't want people to see, and you'll usually hide it behind, oh, you didn't see me do it, or you're kind of like no one really paying attention. But I pay attention like very, very well, because most people have tells.
Most people have tails?
Tells, like they will show it in some way, shape, or form, whether the body language or how they say certain things, they have a tell. You just got to look for it.
Interesting. You mentioned the characteristics of a person who is on the right wavelength, the right mindset of a trader, even if they're your age or older. And I'm wondering, are you familiar with like visualization exercises?
Yes.
Do you do visualization in like trading and
Kinda. So visualization. So for because trading isn't really it has a spiritual outcome, but in terms of the process of it, it's not really like for me currently, it's not really like a spiritual journey. It's more of like it's more of a lens. It's more of a perspective, because again, like I can look at a chart and I can see how to make money. Other people can look at a chart that don't know how to trade and they won't see anything. They'll see complicated. I'll see thousands of dollars. They see this is for me. So it's just a matter of perspective. Visualization kind of. So I'll do visualization as in like what I want, in terms of like, hey, I want. Yes. So my intention is to do like, so I want to retire my parents. I want to make $100 million. I want to do like, there's certain things that I have and visualize, and trading will be a vehicle for that. But also, I don't really pray or visualize for the outcome. I pray for the journey, because again, the journey is what's going to get me there. That the place is going to be there, but the journey it takes to actually get to that point, that's where it's going to get rocky. That's where it's going to get a little bit, I don't really know. So I have to be able to like actually understand, like, all right, this is gonna hurt and this is gonna test me, but at the same time I still have to be ready for it.
Yeah, it's the balance between faith without works, right? Like when you visualize, my intention when I go into the stock market is one thing, but then I also have to prepare myself for the pitfalls. That's like the faith and works. Because honestly, you could, like you said, you can envision what something wants, but you can look at it and be like, I have no clue where the opportunity lies. And whereas someone who has actually done the work can see would you say a chart?
They can
and
see
be
a
able
chart,
to envision like what the win looks like. I'm curious about the man, right? You mentioned like all these characteristics of a good entrepreneur, the characteristics, and honestly some of them overlap, right? But when you envision or use visualization to project the type of man you want to show up as, or the type of man you feel like is emerging in yourself, what is your process for personal development in like your personal life?
Document everything. Every problem you have, write it down. Every loss you take, write it down. Every win you take, write it down too. But you gotta study yourself, because again, like we kind of move. We're not like 10% of the time we're conscious. So everything else is subconscious. Everything we do, walking, breathing, brushing our teeth, washing our face in the morning, it's just a routine. So it's a habit. So we discount the familiar because we do it so much. So in order for you to unlock and understand who you are, you have to understand the familiar. You have to understand the things that you kind of used to brushing off, because that's what's literally going to make you the most amount of money at the end of the day. Because once you understand those little things where you mess up, you understand what you need to improve. Because it's easy once you actually sit with but most people don't want to sit with themselves long enough to actually do it. Because again, our eyes look outward, not inward. So we're so used to looking at everything else instead of looking what's inside, because we think that's what we have to do, or that's the key, everything else, but it's really here. So you kind of got to look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, what am I struggling with? What am I good at? And identify how I can grow as a person, and if I grow, what type of person will I be?
I got you. What was the relationship like with your dad kind of growing up? And as you mentioned, he quit his job early, and then you understood that was an adult decision, which I love how you mentioned it, right? But then also you becoming the man you want to be, and then having two fathers to emulate off of. What was it like developing relationships with your dads, and having those conversations about manhood and who you want to be? It
was weird because I usually didn't ask. I just paid attention. I mean, because if they're a good man in general, then I'll get those characteristics from them. If they're a bad person or if they're not a good man, then I know, like, all right, I know what not to do. It's not really much of a...
How do you judge good and bad man, though?
It kind of comes down to society, like society's standpoint of it, because, and also my perspective, like it's a little bit of bias and a little bit of society and a little bit of biblical, like what is a man supposed to do and what is a man supposed to be. Like, for example, I was raised to, like, all right, open the door for a woman, whether it's a car, whether it's a hot place, all that. So just chivalry in general. So if I notice that they're not doing that or something like that, for example, it's like, all right, red flag. Like, and I'll pay attention to that. Like, hey, I believe you should do this because of this, and this. So I have reasons for it. So it's not even much of, because words have power, but like, because, you know, a picture worth 1,000 words, but a video's worth 1,000,000 words. I mean, what is the word? I forgot the expression. It's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Oh, I say this: a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000 pictures, and experiences are worth 1,000 videos. So, I mean, looking at it from that way, words. I mean, you can just say words, but it doesn't mean it's true, because people can lie, people can be biased. It's an opinion at the end of the day. Unless, even if it is proven, it's still an opinion until it is proven. So, words have limited validity. Pictures, they kind of show a little bit like, oh, you were cool, but you don't know, like, that relationship, or you don't know, like, what happened behind the scenes. Videos kind of show a little bit of it but it only shows 30 seconds and not that 30 minutes or an hour or that whole entire thing. So I just pay attention and watch those things, and I just pay close attention, because again, their actions will tell me something that their words can't.
That's amazing. You know, your dad sat here on the couch and he was talking about, like, being behind the camera.
Yeah.
And learning, like, the room and stuff from behind the camera. You're basically describing learning life from, like, the passenger seat, if you will, and being able to, like, learn, like, manhood from both of your dads. So, like, what do you take from your own biases and say, okay, this is the type of man I want to be, from spiritual, relationships, emotional, mental, and physical?
Yes.
Like, what do you take from each of them, each of their examples, and what it is that you're manifesting?
Believe in yourself when no one else will. Losses are guaranteed to happen, so prepare yourself for them. Another thing I'd have to say is always be respectful. Always, so for example, if you're like, if your woman is wrong, she's right. If, like, that type of thing, like, no matter what.
That sounds like there's a story behind that.
Yeah, no. I just usually just pay attention. Like, usually the moms are usually correct always. Like, even if they are wrong. Treat, like, because they're always big on, like, treat your mom with respect, treat women with respect, that whole thing. So again, like, I definitely embody that too. And just, it's okay to mess up, and it's okay to make mistakes, but don't keep making them. So they made a lot of mistakes in their life, and it's a little bit of an impression like, hey, I've messed up, so I don't want you to do the same thing, so don't do this, and this. So usually when they tell me something, it's because of an experience they had or a setback. So if I know it's a setback, it's like, all right. If I know it's a setback, you can kind of tell if it's a setback, because it's almost like a warning. But if they tell you, like, for example, in terms of, like, the getting a job thing, that wasn't really like a setback that they had. It was more of a perspective or opinion. So from that point, I saw it that way. So now I know, all right, I know how to navigate this. This is not like a concrete, this is like gravity. Like, if I jump up, I go down. Like, that's concrete. But opinions can be
not law.
Yeah, it's not law. But at the same time, if you don't have another way or another path or another way of figuring out how to get to the fact through that opinion, then you might as well just go with the opinion. But I kind of just
learn your truth.
Exactly. So, because for me, I don't really know. There's certain things I don't know. Like, again, biblically, just information-wise, business, trading. There's a lot of things I don't know. So I thrive off of what I don't know. So from just learning from them, I'd have to say just being a man means taking ownership, having integrity, and also understanding your flaws and realizing them and fixing them without anybody asking you to.
Ooh,
yeah.
listen, ladies, that level of ownership without someone having to tell you to fix it.
Yes.
You're gonna save yourself a couple of years of heartache and pain, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of which, that's what I remember when you say yes, ma'am. You mentioned respectability, like being respectful is something that you learn. And I was thinking back to when we were having that conversation about mentorship.
Yeah.
I grew up similar, right? I called my cousin, whatever, auntie this, ma'am, Mrs. And as I got older, it was always, no, just call me by my first name.
Yes,
like,
I've
what
heard
is that like for you growing in this space?
So many people, they're like, oh, no, don't do that. Like if I say ma'am, it's like usually it's not usually a problem. I say that even to my friends, like the females that I'm like yes ma'am, stuff like that. If the guy's like yes sir, like I'll type that whole thing. But it's that Mr. and Mrs. They don't like that. I don't know. They be forgetting I'm young. They be like, oh, you can call me. I've done it to like a few of my friends, like Justin Fields, for example. He was like 26, and I said sir one time, and he was like, don't do that, because he was like, I'm 26, like I'm young, like. But again, like it's from a mentor perspective and like I'm learning from you type thing.
Yeah.
But adults sometimes, like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, I might say sir and ma'am, and then sir and ma'am, or like Mr. and Mrs., and they kind of take a little bit, but then they realize how old I am, and they're like, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide.
I wonder what that shift is going to look like for you, because there's a couple things going on. There's this entrepreneurial drive that's growing inside of you, which is like, I love the spirit. When you know how to make money on your own and be self-sustainable, you don't necessarily ever need the job. Whereas I understand people who are in corporate America or who still have their 9 to 5. It's a level of safety and security that's just needed at that time. But when you transition from 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, there's this other sense of like confidence that you get with it.
Yes.
And then you're growing as a man.
Yes.
So as you come into like who you are, I wonder what that shift is going to look like from Miss to Stacy, for example, or Mr. to John or Justin, right?
Yeah.
That's going to, I'm curious what that's going to look like, because you are technically becoming a peer super easily. Like 19 years old, there's a 17-year-old person who's probably calling Stacy.
Yes. I still do it sometimes. Like it just depends on the energy. It depends on like what I can tell if they want it or not. Like I can tell if they like, oh, I don't want you to say this, or I want you to say that. Like you can kind of tell off energy. But if I don't know and you're a certain age, it's like, sorry, I gotta do it. But I'm probably gonna drop that like maybe starting to get into my 20s, once I become like a full adult. I feel like once I'm a full adult and I'm like, I take care of everything, then it's like, all right, drop the Mr. and Mrs. Like I'm an adult at this point. We're friends. But yeah.
I love it. You started this interview talking about now it's kind of grind season for you. Being able to lock in your younger years, which a lot of people will say, like, if I had that time back, that's exactly what I would do.
Yes.
Do you think past a certain point in terms of what you want to do for your life, or do you focus in on like when I make X amount of money, or when I'm able to retire my parents? You mentioned, like, how do you forecast your life, or how do you see yourself growing?
I don't forecast my life based on like what I do. It's just like, what do I want to have? Mm-hmm. So like I base it off of that. So for example, if it's retiring my parents, like, all right, cool. For me to pay for their bills and stuff like that, it might be $10,000 a month. So all right, cool. Well, it was less than that actually, but let's just say $10,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So if it's $10,000 a month, it's like, all right, cool. How am I gonna make $10,000 a month extra to pay for that thing? And then from there, I just start looking for different things to do. If it's $100 million, all right, cool. In a year, if it's $100 million in a year, how much do I gotta make in a day consistently for 365 days to actually get to that point? And then you just break it down from that point. And then once you know what the goal is, things will just start coming into your life that will fit into that goal. But you gotta look for it though.
You gotta look for it. You gotta look for what, the goal?
You gotta understand the goal and receive the opportunity to achieve the goal.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
You broke down the pictures, or pictures are worth 1,000 words, video, and then experiences. it sounds like the way your mind works, you might also say, this is the type of experience I want to have.
Yes.
How much money is it going to take for me to have that experience?
Yes.
And then create a strategy that's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's definitely, yeah. Because you definitely got to have, I mean, experience trumps everything. Because no matter how many videos I watch, if I'm not doing anything with that information, it's just information. Information has no power unless you do anything with it. So even if I have, like, the most abundant place for dreams is the graveyard, because most people don't do anything with the information that they have, and they just leave it there. So there might be somebody that knows how to make water-powered cars. Now everybody in the United States mad because of that. Like, where's that person? But again, their ideas probably died with them. So now it's like, all right, how can we get the most amount of experiences as we can and get in the right rooms, get in the right places, so that way we actually can get to where we want to be.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of like an experience that you had that was like super off script and you didn't feel like you could reach out to anybody to figure it out?
Figuring out
On your own.
on my own.
Yeah.
I'd have to say being a great person. I feel like being a great person, like being the best Ashon. I can, because no one else can be me but me. Mm-hmm. So I feel like most things dealing with self, you have to get the experience, because no matter how many people tell you, you have to live it. Otherwise, you're not gonna believe it. I don't care who tells you. Because again, especially parents, like let your parent tell you something. You probably not gonna listen to it, but if your best friend tell you from school, tell you the exact same thing, you'll most likely hear it, and then you still most likely won't even do it until you actually you probably still won't internalize it until you do it. Yeah. So it kind of just comes from who's telling you, and then what do you do with the information that's being told to you.
You know what's so dope about your response? If you can inventory the resources that you have in your life, that's not just you, but also like you guys and us. If you can inventory the resources that you like, such that you have someone or something or a resource to answer or help you out with the things that you're going through, to the point where all you need to do is be you and learn how to be you. Literally,
because that's the only thing you can. That's the only thing you master.
That's amazing. Are you do you wake up super grateful for, do you realize like you don't have to figure everything out? Do you recognize that?
Not immediately. I wake up like everybody else.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, it's like you wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes, but at the end of the day, some things in life are just going to correct you, and you kind of have to be receptive of that correction. So like, for example, I might wake up and I'm like, dang, I didn't hit my goal today, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. But you gotta think back to, there's somebody in the world that's about to die, and they'd rather trade their situation for yours in a heartbeat, because it's like, yo, you're not going through nothing. Like I'm out here in these streets, or I'm about to do this, or this is about to happen to me because of X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, you still like, at the end of the day, there's always somebody worse off than you. So you have to be grateful. Like there's nobody that's watching this podcast right now that shouldn't be grateful. Like even if you don't wake up that way, you shouldn't stay that way. Yeah. Because you can like for example, if you're born poor, that's not your fault. But if you die poor, it is, because if you're not born into money, that's not your fault. You had no control over that. But if you die that way, you had time, experiences, life, and you still did that, and you still ended up that way. That's your fault, because you had experiences. God puts the desire inside of all of us to want more. It's just a matter of who takes action on it. Because he gives it to us. Because that's why I say everybody can make six figures if they wanted to, but they don't understand their own value because they don't focus on it.
I love that. I got one more question.
Yeah.
I'm picking your brain at this point because I think that trading is a skill set that it would be. I think it's like a cheat code.
Yes.
Like if someone has time on their hands, because right now the barrier is like, I don't have time to learn trading.
Yeah.
But if you have time, placing that knowledge of trading and then being able to execute, you can be in the game real quick. Yeah. And I was thinking about homelessness. So I don't know if you noticed, but I love to work with young people and adults who are transitioning their life, especially vulnerable populations who are experiencing homelessness. And my thought is, you take trading information, you go into like a shelter, and you teach these things and give someone enough like runway to learn it and get into a place. Yeah. My thought is, putting together structure where everybody has an allotted, let's say $5,000,
Yes.
and then someone comes in and teaches them, they'd be able to be self-sustainable. But I'm picking your brain now.
Yeah.
The system can be flawed. That's just a framework, a structure.
Yes.
What do you think the difference is between, like, you know, giving someone a $500 stipend to trade,
Yes,
versus, you know, somebody working hard enough to get their own $500, investing in the market themselves? Do you see that there's a successful path to go from homelessness to self-sustainability through trading?
See, the thing about trading is, so the thing of it, so if you're homeless, first off, again, like, you can't be sufficient trading if you haven't mastered you. So if you're homeless, at that certain point, you're more, most people, like, in general, like, actually, that's how I think of it. The less money you make, the more selfish you are, because you have to be selfish. You have to, like, for example, homeless people, they're selfish in terms of they need, their goal is focused on themselves.
Their
like, I need to eat, I need this. Like, that's still selfish. Selfish isn't a good or bad thing. It's just, you're just focusing on yourself. So sometimes you have to be selfish. Sometimes I have to be selfish. So depending on where that homeless person is, so like factoring in, let's just say they're mentally stable and stuff like that, they're mentally sane, because there's certain people that's homeless and they might not be mentally equipped to actually, you know, be able to trade. So if they're mentally where they want to be, let's just say somebody that's 17, 18, let's just say somebody that's in their 20s, something like that, got kicked out of their house and they have a place to work. So they have a good mindset, but they're just in the wrong environment. So at that point, it will come down to tapping into different avenues of people and something, like going to, like, because there's free events, there's free places to go, and you could go to certain events, and you could, because again, like, because also you can make money too, to also buy you some clothes, something like that, buy you something to actually clean yourself up, and then you can go to different places and stuff like that, go to different events and meet people, and then ask them different ways. Because again, I've been asking people how they can make money all the time, because again, I don't know how to make money. I just know options. There's some people that know real estate, there's people that know how to make money with no money, there's people that can make money without using a phone or anything, right? So if they do know how to do that, then they can tap in with people. There's certain people, you can just do it for free. But again, it comes down to having the right mindset and also being in the right position, because you might be homeless, because there's plenty of homeless people that have escaped homelessness, like Steve Harvey, for example. He was homeless too. But if I took a homeless person, I was like, hey, I was trying to get him to trade. So I would first get that person and I would put him in front of at least 100 videos of people that were homeless and they went from homeless to getting to where they are in terms of out of it. They're gonna, if they study that, those 100 videos, they will know how to be not homeless. They just will, because again, certain people literally went homeless, from homeless to millionaires, billionaires, and self-made. So if they watch those videos, they can understand how to actually get out of it. Once they understand how to get out of it, they can put themselves in a better position where they can actually, even if they can just get access to a laptop and then go to Starbucks and then, like, actually study how to do it. At that point, you can just study there all day because you have time. So now you're studying, you're learning, you're understanding how to do this, you're learning what to do. Now you can take that money, you have a laptop, for example, you could use that to make a little bit of money. You can research, how do I make money with my laptop, and that's it. You can watch 100 videos on that. You will learn how to make money with your laptop. That's it. Because again, I've done it before too. Once you learn how to make enough money, you can make $500 to $1,000, something like that. And again, you can take some of that money and go get some food real quick, go get some food to take care of yourself, and then go learn this. Get some food, go learn this. Go get some food, go learn this, because they have time. Yeah. So now they're using that time to actually get what they need. And then from there, they can just learn. If they have spending that much time learning trading a day, that's like 16 plus hours a day at least that they're learning trading. So now they're learning how to trade at a rapid pace, fast, and now they're learning how to do it. Once they learn how to do it and they actually save up enough money, they can just start incrementally making more money. Because again, a couple like $100 or less a day is good for them. So even if they got like a couple $500 and you make 10% of that, that's $50. That's $50. You can go get food and stuff like that for yourself. Take the money out, go buy this, and this, and you can just redoing it. And at that point, it'll take a while, maybe like a year or two, 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5. But eventually you'll get to a place where I'd rather, again, if I said, hey, in 5 years you won't be homeless and you'll be self-sufficient, you'll be like, but you have to do this. Would you do it? Yes. It just depends on how bad you want it.
Come on, I don't know if y'all caught it, but I will tell you guys, either I'm going to cut that. No. If you picked up on that, then you guys can take that literally and do something with it. The best way to help people is to get your ego out of it. And as much as that, it sounds amazing. And I'm like, oh, I would love for us to do that. It's like whoever hears this and has the resources to like definitely do that.
Yes.
In 5 years to invest in someone so that they can develop their basic needs. And I love how you broke it down.
Yeah.
Motivation, so you can see that it's possible. Get your basic needs met. While you're getting your basic needs met, invest in your high value skill set. Get to a point where you're bringing in enough revenue outside of trading. Get yourself self-sustainable on trading. Start making $50 a day. And then in 5 years, you'll get yourself to a place where you can be a millionaire.
Literally. And it's awful because, again, trading is just knowledge and experience. So the more experience you have, the more knowledge you have, and the more money you have too, you can make more money. But even if you have a little bit of money, there's certain people that's not even making like a couple $100 a day at their job. But if you actually are like internalizing like, all right, I can make a little bit of money with this, take that money and then start doing this and building it. Again, you can build it off of consistency and build it off of discipline and build it off of your knowledge. So that's all it comes down to for real. But it's still, the thing about homeless people too, it's just
this other side.
Yeah, the other side is just like, because again, like even if I have a lot of money, and I'm still gonna do this too, I'm still gonna like work with homeless people, I'm still gonna work with young kids and show them how to do it because they can. But it also comes down to the person. Unfortunately, if it was just up to me, I'd be able to save every homeless person. But it comes down to who they are. It comes down to what they want. If that's not true. The thing I learned about people too, like if you really want something, you'll have it. Like that's what relationships, that's what people, that's what things, that's what goals. If you want it, you will have it. Like period. Like even like I've seen Grant Cardone, for example. His wife rejected him for like months and he just kept going. He was like, no. It's the first time I saw you, I was like, yo, we're getting married and we're having my kids. And now but again, that came from, I want this, so I would do whatever it takes to get that thing and make that thing happen. And he did it. So it kind of comes, that works with everything in life. Most things in life, I say. Anything that you want or you desire, you will have it. But at the same time, as long as it's morally right, then yeah, it's fun.
I love it. I love it. It's not simple, and I don't want to. It's simple, but I don't want to oversimplify the fact that we brainstorming, saving, eradicating homeless out here. But I do love your perspective. So before we get up out of here, we'd love to hear what you're excited about, what you are bringing to the people, how you are helping people do what they do, and do what you do rather. And then where can people connect you after you've shared what it is that you're excited about?
Of course. So my main things that I'm focusing on is just, again, teaching people like how they can actually start trading options, teaching beginners because I am. So my main focus has been that, and also getting my account to the point where I can make 10K a day. And at that point, literally my bills are paid in one day. Get to that point, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Then I'm focused on, and I'm also doing master classes every single Sunday where I teach people how they can make make money trading options, literally like an hour or two. And I'm asking, and you can answer questions. I'm gonna be answering questions in there. I'm gonna be talking to people. So if you want to come, it's free. You don't have to pay for anything, and you literally can just learn about options for free.
Let's go. We'll tap into the brother, because I will tell you, we got a lot of information on this conversation, but there's so much more, and there's so much more that you can learn over the course of time. So thank you so much for just pouring out yourself onto this podcast. And for those who are watching and listening, where can they contact you?
Yes, so you can follow me at CEO Ashon on all platforms, CEO ASHON, no dots, no underscores or anything. If it has a dot or underscore, it's a fake account. I have like 10 of those now, but again, CEO ASHON, no spaces, no nothing. It's literally just CEO Ashon. 100%.
All right, y'all, you know exactly what you need to do. Take this information and go out and be great. Put this in your exit strategy, because we broke down the exit strategy. We broke down your journey. We broke down your personal life. We even talked about saving homelessness. All right, guys? We could not have put much more value in this one conversation. So go out, be great, do what you got to do. And until next time, peace out.
Peace.